So have you always wanted to find out how much clearance you need in front of a console table? Well, stay tuned. Hi everyone, welcome back, and I'm so glad you're here to hang out and talk about neat interior design topics. In this video, I'm going to be talking about console tables, and I'm going to be, talking a little bit about the history of console tables and, the neat attributes of console tables, but then also go into, how much clearance we need around a console table so that it functions well in the space where we place it. So if that sounds kind of interesting to you, I'd love to have you hang out. And I want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. So let's get started. Console tables are really neat, versatile tables that we can use in a variety of spaces. And just by the nature of their design, they have a very shallow depth and kind of a wider length, and then the height, they're kind of the same height usually of a dining room table. And it makes them really versatile where we can put them in a variety of areas. And it's interesting to look at the history of a console table, to look back maybe in the 17th century where they were actually a part of the architectural feature of a big palace, and lots of times maybe in between windows. And they were built in. And then of course that variation is very different from what we have today. And what we have today is a cute little table that's freestanding, but then we can also find attached console tables where maybe it's attached and then it just has two legs in the front. And so we still have a little bit of that history of having a table attached to a wall, but we bring in, a more versatile version nowadays so that we can, move it around into different rooms. Console tables are wonderful in halls, entryways, bedrooms, dining rooms, living rooms, even kitchens, or even a bathroom. And we can have them be purely decorative as they were in these palaces, but we can also use them for different functions. Wouldn't it be fun to use one as just like a little bar area? Or, as another table in a dining room where you could have appetizers, or even in a bathroom where you could put toiletries, just depending on what you need, or, if you just need it to be decorative, console tables are wonderful and are made out of a variety of finishes and materials. And sometimes they have storage, maybe another shelf or maybe a drawer or two. Not as much storage as compared to maybe a sideboard or a buffet for a dining room table where we need to store more things. But either way, we can use that console table for storage or just for decorative purposes. And of course, console tables come in a variety of styles, and then we can find console tables in, rectangular shapes, but also in demi-lune shapes, just meaning the French meaning of half moon. So, like a half circle shape. So, depending on what your style is, you may enjoy something that has that more circular shape to it, or maybe just something more rectangular. And then depending on where we put the console table, we may give it another name. So if it's in the hall or entryway, we may call it an entryway table or a hall table. And then if we place it behind a sofa, we could call it a sofa table. But they all mean the same kind of table, just this nice, narrow, kind of wider, taller table that's really versatile. And then I even think we could call a shelf that's attached to the wall at, kind of a dining room table height that's narrow and wide. We could probably refer to that with some nice brackets as a console table, just because of the nature of its dimensions and height. I think that we could call that a console table as well. Just anything where it's kind of narrow and wide and a little bit higher, I always kind of think of as a console table. And then with all these beautiful things about console tables, One area that I wanted to touch on in this video is about clearances around console tables. And I sometimes refer to that as wiggle room. So making sure there's enough wiggle room in front of the console table as well as the sides. And, say in an entryway or hallway, we want to make sure that there's enough space in front of the console table so that people can walk by really easily. There's enough clearance. And, the nature of a console table, it's very shallow. So lots of times that works perfectly in a hallway or an entryway just because it isn't very deep. But we still want to make sure that there is space in front of it. In my video where I talked about space in our place and, considering how much space we need for a piece of furniture, one piece of furniture that I talked about was a console table. And, having to consider the entire size of the console table, the table itself, but how much space that console table needs for clearance and overall to make sure it works in whatever area you put it. So I always recommend, if you can, a minimum of 36 inches in front of a console table before, it hits a wall or before that space hits another piece of furniture, just to make sure that there's enough room for everyone to walk by easily. And the other thing I think about when placing a console table is especially when it's near a doorway or an opening, and making sure that it's just shy of the opening so that, you walk in and out of that opening into another room easily. You're not bumping into the table. And also thinking about a door. If you have a door that opens onto the console table, or even if you have to access a door next to the console table, making sure there's clearance there, a couple inches or more, or, moving the console table a little bit to make sure that you can easily open the door, or easily, open the door as wide as you can without, hitting the console table. And then the other situation that I think about is in a living room or family room or great room, and you're going to put a console table, a sofa table behind your sofa. And one thing I would consider and think about is just making sure the height is a little lower than the highest point of your sofa. And then the other thing would be to have the width of that console table a little bit smaller than the overall width of your sofa. And really what it is just a comfort level. It's making sure that there's plenty of wiggle room, plenty of space that you can easily walk around and walk by that table without bumping into it. And of course, thinking about leaving enough space, at least 36 inches in front of that console table will make sure that there's plenty of wiggle room for everybody to move around easily. So I'd love to hear, if you have a console table, where you have it placed, what room and area, and then how you use it. So I'd love to just, get some ideas of how everyone's enjoying their console tables, and, what style you have, and then how you use it. So I think that's kind of cool. So share, your experience in the comments. And I want to thank you again for watching, and I hope you're doing well. And please remember to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.